The term anarchy is a humble term. It means without rulers. It does not mean blow things up or sow disorder. Anarchism is an apolitical philosophy that champions the individual and decrees the monarch. Anarchy is the triumphant concept that people should live unobstructed by laws and rules, but instead be consumed with love and kindness. And you're not going to get that with the government. Here we've got another picture for you. Halifax, Keighley, Aylesbury, Banbury, Blackburn, Burton-on-Trent, Accrington, Canterbury, Coventry, Chelmsford, Leeds, Dewsbury, Derby, Peterborough, Middlesbrough, Telford, Bristol, Huddersfield, a lot in Huddersfield, Newcastle, a lot in Newcastle, Oxford, a lot in Oxford, Rochdale, a lot in Rochdale, Rotherham. And you notice what beliefs they are? Every single one should be deported for good, along with their entire family. Traitor. Neath Port Talbot voted to leave. Christina Rees, MP for Neath. Why would anyone vote for that horrible, acid-faced bitch? The most stupid decision that the Supreme Court ever made, and one of the most damaging, was to rule that corporations are people. Jimmy Carter. In 1991, Isaac Wright was wrongfully convicted of being a drug kingpin in New Jersey and got life in prison. During the appeal process, he educated himself on the law, was exonerated of all charges, went to law school, came back and got the cops and judge locked up. The only thing the establishment truly fears. I got your back, bro. Anne, Maine, Tory MP for St Albans. Anne's a very kind mum. Her daughter has been living rent-free at a flat, over £1,000 a month, monthly rent, a new washing machine, laminated floor and covering utility bills. The trouble with Anne's kindness was the fact that you were paying for it. Anne voted to cut ESA for her sick and disabled constituents. Nothing says I love you when you're sick like a dog who believes his love is the cure. We don't need to find the cure to cancer, we need to legalise it. Crowds waiting with bated breath for the unveiling of the Margaret Thatcher statue. And they're not the only ones waiting to shit on it. Election fraud allowed to take place in Muslim communities because of political correctness, report warns. Eric Pickles, who has written a report on voter fraud. Election fraud has been allowed to take place in Muslim communities because of political correctness. A major report finds that as it calls for unprecedented reforms to the British voting system. In a report commissioned by the government, Sir Eric Pickles, so he's a pedo, the former Conservative cabinet minister, today warns that the authorities are in a state of denial and are turning a blind eye to election fraud. He said that there is evidence of voter fraud, especially in communities of Pakistani and Bangladesh background, but that the cases have been covered up. Government, we can all do without it. Mercenaries, feeding off terrorism and crime, UN chief. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Monday that reports suggest that there has been a surge in the use of mercenaries who are not only fighting in wars and illegally exploiting natural resources, but are now feeding off transnational organised crime, terrorism and violent extremism. The UN chief called for much broader support for regional and international conventions against the use of mercenaries and said those compacts need to be updated. He also called for prosecuting mercenaries and for strengthening effort at preventing people, especially the young, from being recruited as mercenaries. Brexit to be delayed 8 weeks, even if May's deal gets through Commons. Cabinet discusses putting leaving date back until May 24th. Well, that's treason then. To allow more time for MPs to pass necessary bills. No, we voted to leave. You don't need to pass any bills. We don't need any deals. We voted to leave, and leave means leave. Anything other than leave on the 29th of March is treason. Exclusive. Britain date to leave EU could be delayed from March 29th to May 24th. The proposed 8-week delay was discussed by Cabinet. It emerged last night. New date would allow MPs time to get necessary bills through Right, piss off. They've had 2.5 years to get this sorted, and now oh, well, you know, we need more. No. If you can't do the job, you're sacked. Go home. Brexit could be delayed for up to 8 weeks, even if Theresa May gets the deal through at the Commons. It emerged last night. Cabinet ministers have discussed pushing the date back to allow time for essential legislation to pass through the Commons. No, it's tying us deeper into the European scumbag dictatorship, so we can't get out. An 8-week delay would mean leaving the European Union on the 24th of May instead of March 29. There are several bills on issues including immigration and trade which must pass through both the Commons and the Lords before we leave, as well as hundreds of other pieces of minor. No, we voted to leave. You can't do your job. Do one. Feck off. UK households lose feel-good factor amid rising debt, ONS. British households have grown more pessimistic about the state of the economy and their own personal finances, according to official figures, amid rising debt levels and faster income growth for the richest in society. Pulling together an assessment of personal and economic well-being data for the first time, the Office for National Statistics said that benefits from parts of the British economy that were performing strongly were not being felt by at all. Really? Despite unemployment being at the lowest level since the mid-1970s, because they fixed the figures, and the return of the real growth in household disposable income, piss off. Measurements of the personal well-being were in stagnation, while people's perception of the future were worsening, because they can see what a treasonous bunch of bastards we've got in Parliament. Postcode lottery scandal of the stroke patients denied treatment. Stroke sufferers are missing out on a game-changing treatment because the NHS is struggling with a lack of specialists to perform the procedure, experts are warning. The shortfall is so severe that it is threatening to derail effort to increase tenfold the number of patients who have mechanical thrombectomy, a revolutionary procedure that can make a huge difference to the prospects of someone who has suffered an ischemic stroke, the commonest form of the disease. Age UK, 50,000 elderly have died waiting for social care packages. You had enough yet? More than 50,000 people have died waiting for care while ministers dither and over long-awaited plans to overhaul the funding of social care, a charity has claimed. Age UK estimates that 54,000 people of 77 a day have died while waiting for a care package in the 700 days since the government first said in March 2017 it would publish its social care green paper, which has since been delayed several times. The claim came as a cross-party group of MPs, members of paedophiles, warned that the government was in denial about the perilous state of English local authority finances, a crisis driven by a growing demand for the care of vulnerable and adults and children. They don't give a shit. They never have. It's always been look after themselves and screw everyone else that you can. Fracking firm Quadrilla says earthquake rules hinder its work. The shale gas firm Quadrilla has said Commercial fracking cannot go ahead in the UK unless rules of minor earthquakes are relaxed after admitting it had only been able to frack a tiny section of its gas well near Blackpool because of seismic regulations. They mean earthquakes. They're causing earthquakes, and they're saying, oh, well, you know, we've got to be allowed to cause earthquakes. Every single one of them, from the top down, wants locking up. The company became the first to frack in the UK for years when it started operations last October at its Preston North Road site, but was repeatedly forced to pause work for causing tremors that breached the 0.05 magnitude limit. In a statement on Wednesday, the company revealed that less than 5% of the well had been fracked, or only 2 of the 41 so-called fracking stages along the well. Good. We don't need fracking. Nottingham criminal cartel joins others in 550 million claim against Barclays, and there's Loxley House where the criminals all congregate. The city council is suing Barclays Bank over loans which it claims were manipulated. The council is one of several local authorities taking legal action against the bank. Together the council took out 49 loans worth 550 million. Why would they need to take them out? Unless, of course, it's to do with the fact that they're totally corrupt. Oh, there you go. Answered it. The council has now filed a group action claim against the bank, with the matter expected to go to the High Court. A spokeswoman for Barclays said the bank would not comment because of the ongoing court case. Tobacco firms not paying fair share of UK corporation tax, like all big corporations, Amazon, Google, YouTube, Facebook, all of them. None. The coffee ones, you take the pick. None of them pay any tax. Only the poor pay tax. That's you lot. Global tobacco companies should be paying more UK corporation tax, according to a report. In actual fact, corporations are the only ones that should pay tax. Men and women should never, ever pay a penny tax. According to a report that claims they are not contributing their fair share despite making massive profits. Academics at the University of Bath found that the 4 largest cigarette companies pay hundreds of millions of pounds in tax overseas, but consistently pay less than the headline rate in UK corporation tax. What about shock? The government just let them get away with it because, well, they've got all you poor lot to go and chase after, haven't they? The companies which disputed the report's findings included Galusis, Maker Imperial Brands, and British American Tobacco, BAT, owner of Camel and Lucky Strike. Only the poor. That's all they want, the poor. Keep the poor down, and then you can keep them under control. County lines, drug gangs trafficking children via social media. A failure to grasp how technology and social media is being used to coerce, control, blackmail and track the movements of children as young as 11 by county lines, drug gangs, has seen an epidemic of child criminal exploitation spiral out of control in the UK. And there's nothing going to change about it because the police don't give a shit about the kids. They don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. They're like another form of MPs. If we can steal it, we will. Water bills to rise by 2% from April. Anyone paying anything for water must need their head examining. The average water and sewage bill in England and Wales will rise by 2% from April, it was announced today. Despite making massive profits and not being able to stop the leaks, you're going to have to pay more so that they can increase the profits to the shareholders. Industry body Water UK said the new charges would see the average bill increase by £8 to £415. The exact figure will vary depending on the supplier and individual circumstances. It added that water companies would invest more than $8 billion into the industry in 2019-2020. Bills were also going down by more than 5% in real terms between 2015 and 2020, it said. Pack of lies. Going down. Bullshit. French lawmakers approve controversial anti-riot bill. We can't have the public standing up for themselves. We must bring in some sort of bill which means we can beat them further, shoot them, kill them, maim them. French MPs on Tuesday approved an anti-rioting bill giving security forces the power to ban suspected hooligans from demonstrating in a controversial bid to crack down on violence that has marred Yellow Vest protests over the last 3 months. But what they're failing to add there is undercover cops, agent provocateurs that have caused all the violence. Opponents say the bill, approved to the lower house of Parliament by 387 votes to 92, contravenes the constitutional right to demonstrate. There you go. Dictatorship. Under its most contentious provision, government officials would be able to ban people suspected of being hooligans. Well, then they need to ban the cops, don't they, from taking part in demonstrations without oversight from a judge. Inspired by legislation used to crack down on football hooligans, the new law calls for, it's not a law, it's a statute or an act, for a 6-month prison sentence and a €7,500 fine for violators. It's not about the money. No, of course it's not. The legislation is passed by the upper house and approved by the Constitutional Council. Would also allow fines of up to €15,000 and a 1-year prison term for demonstrators covering or masking their faces to escape identification. And yet the police do it all the time. It would also hand French police greater powers to search would-be demonstrators for weapons. The only one carrying weapons are the police. The bill's approval follows 12 weeks of protests by anti-government demonstrators known as the Yellow Vests because of their distinctive fluorescent yellow jackets. Yeah, here we are, you can see us, we're not hiding anything, but those that's been smashing the cars and things like that and set them on fire are all in black, got the little red armbands in the rucksack along with the police helmet, go and smash the car, set it on fire, run away, pretend to be one of them, and then as soon as you're outside, put your helmet on, put your red badge on, and you're a cop. The sooner Emmanuel Macron gets guillotined, the better. And by the sound of it, the whole of their parliament as well, just like ours. Incredibly dangerous. Macron accused of abandoning EU to solve Yellow Vest crisis. Emmanuel Macron is using Europe to resolve domestic issues, French MP Yannick Jadot said after it emerged that the president was preparing to call a referendum on reforms on the same day as the European Parliament elections on May 26. Mr Jadot, a senior member of France's Green Party, accused Macron of hijacking the European debate to quell the anti-government Yellow Vest rebellion gripping France. Asked by Sud Radio whether he agreed with the government's plan to make the referendum coincide with the current EU vote, he said there is a risk that the European election will be a farce. It is, they always are. France's Yellow Vest protesters join Union March for the first time. France's Yellow Vest protesters movement on Tuesday joined ranks with a major union in a day of nationwide protests over taxes and buying power, a first up for both. There were brief scuffles and police fired several rounds of tear gas at a Paris demonstration, clearing troublemakers. They were troublemakers. No, I think you'll find the police are the troublemakers. From the elegant Place de la Concorde, which borders the US Embassy. Tear gas was also used in Lille and elsewhere. However, tension was minimal compared with the weekly protests held since November by the Yellow Vest movement to demand fiscal and social justice in a major challenge to President Emmanuel Macron. The communist-backed CGT union marched from Paris City Hall to the Place de la Concorde side by side with protesters from the Yellow Vest movement, which takes its name from the safety vest that some 30,000 people, including many Yellow Vest protesters, demonstrated in the French capital on Tuesday, according to this CGT tabulation. The police prefecture, for its part, eliminated 18,000 took part in the Paris demonstration. Meanwhile, the occurrence firm mandated by a collective of media outlets, including Agence France Presse, to provide independent counts during mass gatherings, said 14,000 protesters marched through Paris on Tuesday. Yeah, none of them can count. YGE is paying $57 million to the French government. In 2015, General Electric purchased the energy and power side of the French multinational company Alstom for $10.6 billion, but according to the French finance minister, GE didn't make good on all aspects of that deal. The French government says GE was supposed to create 1,000 new jobs in 3 years. How did it actually add? Just 25. like what you're reading. Mentally ill man forced to sleep on the streets after universal credit slashed. He claims that a letter asking him to attend a job centre appointment was sent to the wrong address. A man who suffers from a range of mental health issues claims he has been forced to sleep on the streets after DWP slashed his universal credit payment. Sean Precious, 44, has reportedly been claiming the new benefit, which is replacing a number of legacy benefits as part of the UK government's attempt to destroy the poor, sweeping welfare reforms since 2017, and suffers with a number of mental health conditions including anxiety and depression. Sean says he didn't receive letters demanding that he attend a job centre appointment because they were sent to his late father's address, which then resulted in the benefit being sanctioned by DWP officials. The DWP lot, every one of them, wants sanctioning themselves, firing and forced to live on benefits themselves. Child abuser Rolf Harris investigated over entering school grounds. The dirty, filthy paedophile bastard wants executing. Police and probation officers are investigating reports that convicted child abuser Rolf Harris has entered the grounds of a primary school near his home and waved at pupils. The former TV star was convicted of 12 indecent assaults in June 2014, including one of involving an 8-year-old who wanted an autograph, two on girls in their early teens, and a catalogue of abuse against his daughter's friends over 16 years. One of the assault convictions was later overturned on appeal. He was released on licence May 17. Looks like the devil himself, doesn't it? Pope admits abuse and sex slavery of nuns by priests, but insists it's under control. Yeah, we've told them to shut up talking about it. You see, they're all at it. Any position of perceived power and they'll be dirty, filthy, raping paedophiles. Tory councillor says the homeless should be eliminated. I'll tell you what, you piece of shit, Councillor David Heseltine, you should be eliminated. This is the truth behind the facade of caring conservatism. The poor are victim blamed for their own poverty, and the Tories call for them to be persecuted, executed. What exactly does Mr Heseltine envisage when he suggests grabbing the homeless by the scruff of the neck and ensuring they were eliminated? Is he suggesting that these people who have committed no crime, unless you consider it a crime to be unlucky, should be assaulted by the state? Thereby, for the grace of God, or whatever you believe in, go you, Mr Heseltine. Your good fortune is as much a result of good luck as theirs is of bad. Perhaps someone should take this Tory by the scruff of the neck and deal with him. Let's see how long he likes it. Royal family implicated again in a new court case about paedophilia and sex slavery. The facts, allegedly. Another court session has taken place in Florida where multiple victims spoke out against sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew, a colleague of Epstein, has been named as one of the accomplices. Reflect on how is it that years can pass, allegations and evidence can mount, yet there is never any repercussions for those involved. How can we dismantle something that is controlled by the very top? And there you go. Never before has paedophilia and ritualistic child abuse been on the radar of so many people. Having been at Collective Evolution for nearly 10 years, it's truly amazing to see just how much the world has woken up to the fact that ritualistic child abuse is actually a real possibility. The people who have been implicated in this type of activity over the years are powerful, from high-ranking military people all the way down to the several politicians around the world and more. One example would be the NBC News report that implicated Hillary Clinton in covering up a massive paedophile ring in the heart of the State Department. London bloodbath. Teen stabbed on bus in Hackney as violence continues across capital. And make no mistake, apart from the fact it being the government's fault, the main book stops with Khan. A teenager has been rushed to hospital after being stabbed on the bus in Hackney, East London, the latest in series of violent attacks which continue to blight the capital. Police and paramedics have scrambled to the scene at Clapton Common after receiving reports a young man had been attacked. Officers arrived shortly after 3 p.m. to find the victim, believed to be in his mid-teens with stab wounds. London Ambulance Service said the teen was taken as a priority to a major trauma centre. Tory councillor jailed for watching children being raped live online. An ex-Tory councillor is behind bars after watching children being raped live online. Renee Kinzet, well, don't worry. I'm not going to read the rest of it because we talked about it before, but at least he's got jail. Let's just see how long he got. Probably nothing. 45 months. Not even 4 years. But it's going to be the hardest 4 years of his life. And even if he's on section 43, which keeps him out of general population still have to take his food to him. And guess what? It won't be nice what they do to it. And when they get the chance, he's going to pay for his dirty, filthy behaviour. Another MP that wants execution. Vulnerable dementia patient could be locked up for 3 years without review under rushed government reform. They are attacking the children, they are attacking the elderly, they are attacking you. And if you can't see it, you've got a hell of a shock coming your way. Bill creates a worrying conflict of interest for care home managers, giving them a greater role in the assessment process, charities warn. People with mental health conditions, learning disabilities and dementia could be locked away for as long as 3 years without a review under rushed reforms put forward by the government. We need to end the government. We need to end the councils. We need to end every corrupt chief constable down until we get to anyone that is a Freemason in that job needs firing initially, prosecuting secondary, and then we go after the judges as well. Any of them that are Freemasons need firing and then prosecuting by real you and I, not the bent judges that will just cover it up. Switzerland to vote on banning banks from creating money. Switzerland will hold a referendum to decide whether to ban commercial banks from creating money. Didn't you know that banks created money out of nothing? Well, now you do. The Swiss federal government confirmed on Thursday that it would hold the plebiscite after more than 110,000 people signed a petition calling for the central bank to be given the sole power to create money in financial system. No bank should be given the power to create money. The campaign, led by the Swiss sovereign money movement and known as the Volgard Initiative, is designed to limit financial speculation by requiring private banks to hold 100% reserves against their deposits. Banks won't be able to create money for themselves anymore. They'll only be able to lend money that they have from savers or other banks. The 5.5 million NHS fraudsters billing for work on dead patients, stealing vital equipment, even robbing a charity fund, as it revealed 1.25 billion is stolen from health services a year. Meet the doctors, nurses and contractors who abuse your trust. Astonishing 1.25 billion is believed to be stolen from the NHS every single year. Around a quarter of the stolen money is taken by patients in prescription fraud. Desperate staff members also steal money they need for health service. As the largest publicity-funded health service in the world, the NHS employs more than 1.5 million people. The vast majority are dedicated to their jobs, but the enormity of the organisation leaves it vulnerable to exploitation. Indeed, an astonishing 1.25 billion is being believed to be stolen from the health service every year, enough to fund 40,000 nurses or buy 5,000 ambulances. Around a quarter of the stolen money is taken by patients in the form of prescriptions and entitlement fraud. Bogus contractors tricking the NHS into buying their supplies are also culpable, but there are also staff who pilfer desperately needed funds. This week the new BBC says, well, you can trust that then, not. Fraud Squad NHS is exposing the fraudsters, robbing the health service, and the effort of the NHS Counter Fraud Authority set up in 2017 to bring them to justice. From doctors and nurses to dentists and NHS directors, we're all here are some of who are brazenly abused their position of trust. If you want to read the rest, it'll be at the end of the news. Breaking news. Council slammed over plans to sell 5 acres of land worth £1 million to developers for just £1. Well, I can't see any problem with that, of course, unless, of course, you're okay with the council just chucking away £999,999 of your money. Of course, there won't be any backhanded deals going, oh yeah, that's a pound, so here's 100 grand for you. Cheers for that, you know, that sort of shit, because that's what's going off here. Total corruption. Every council totally and utterly corrupt. A local council has been slammed over plans to sell 5 acres of green land worth £1 million to property developers for just £1. The land in Essex was bought 2 years ago by the local authority. It's not an authority, it's a criminal cartel, for just over £1 million, with plans to build a luxury Towie-style hotel. But the developers lined up says it will pay just £1 for the greenbelt land, and they will also need the council to hand over another £500,000 to help the road building costs. This council absolutely corrupt, just like every single council in the country. Furious councillors say the plan to hand it over to bidder Brand Investments for just 0.0001% of what they paid in 2017 makes them look ridiculous. No, it makes them look like a bunch of crooks, which is what they are. The plans are on the agenda to be discussed at the meeting tomorrow, Thursday, today. Council officers are expected to ask committee permission to sell the land so a 4-star 100-room hotel can be built. A document set to be debated by councillors behind closed doors in private suggests 6 developers had put offers on the land, but civil servants had selected Brand Investments as their preferred bidder because they're getting a massive kickback backhander from them. That's what's going on there. This is how much taxpayer cash has been spent on gagging orders. The figures come from Freedom of Information requests. Councils across Coventry and Warwickshire have paid out a staggering amount of money on gagging orders. Since 2013, £2.3 million has been given to former council employees in settlements agreements, compromise agreements and non-disclosure agreements. The last figure have come to light more than 2 months after Coventry Live reported that Coventry City Council spent more than £333,000 of taxpayers' money, 333, cash on keeping ex-staff from claiming against them in the past 3 years following an investigation by local democracy reporting services. In November, it was revealed that more than £200,000 was handed over to just 7 staff last year. The sum was given to a total of 7 staff in People Directive, whose responsibilities range from schools and libraries to public health and social care for children and adults. 2 staff from Place Directive, who deal with issues such as bin collection, street cleaning and road repairs and planning applications, also received a slice of the cash. Compromise agreements, also known as settlement agreements, are usually struck up when an employee faces redundancy or workplace issues and leaves. An employer typically asks the employee to sign on the dotted line to return for a payoff, while they can also have confidentiality orders attached. And now FOI figures obtained by BBC Country and Warwickshire has shown the number of payouts may be made by council across Coventry and Warwickshire for the last 5 years. What do the figures show? Since 2013, Warwickshire County Council has paid out the most in region, forking out £1.1 million in 213 ex-member of staff. 2016 saw the most payouts, with 129,173 paid to 99 people. Councils are totally and utterly a corrupt dictatorship, and if you can't see it, open your eyes. The populace trying to lure France's yellow vest. The winds of change have crossed the Alps, said Italy's Deputy Premier Luigi Di Maio after he met a senior figure in France's Gilets Jaunes Yellow Vest movement on Tuesday, which could increase tension between Italy and France. Di Maio, who holds the populist five-star movement, showed his support for the protest group in defiance of President Emmanuel Macron and ahead of the European Parliament elections in May. The Deputy Premier posted a photo of after holding talks near Paris in Christopher Chalancon, a leftist Yellow Vest organiser from the south of France. Alessandro de Battista, and influential five-star leader, also attended. French police talk about shooting Yellow Vest protesters in leaked tape. Yeah, you heard that right. Police in the city of Toulouse came under fire after several officers were caught on tape discussing plans to shoot the protesters involved in clashes. The comments were made in the police command room as broadcaster France 3 reported, where the officers were watching an intense standoff between police and demonstrators unfolding on the streets of Toulouse. While the officers aren't seen in the video, the voice are heard saying, "What a bunch of bastards," and the effers when the clashes turned violent. Yeah, by the police. Then a female officer is heard saying, "But you have to shoot," and the other male officer replying, "When I tell you to, line up 2 or 3 rounds." The police in France are totally out of control, corrupt, and just thugs. The Guardian. Tusk, special place in hell for those who back Brexit without a plan. There's a special place in hell for Tusk, and you're going there when the whole system collapses, which it's on the verge of. Labour offers to back May's Brexit plan, but only if Britain joins the customs union. So we're not leaving. Yeah, we'll back you as long as we don't leave. That's what that says. Traitorous bastards are Labour. Global warming could pass 1.5 centigrade within 5 years. Bullshit, it's made up. That's why they had to change it from global warming to climate change, because it's getting cold and then it gets hot and then it gets cold and then it's got hot, just like it has done for ever. And I recall back in the 70s when we had massive snowstorms and they were trying it back then. Oh, we're going to an ice age. Then we had the summer of 76, which was the hottest on record, and that destroyed their plans. So now they came up with global warming. That didn't work because it got colder, so they changed it to climate change, because whether it gets hot or cold, it's your fault and we're going to make you pay for it. Stanton's 15 spared jail over deportation protests. Metro. 50 days to Brexit and all hell breaks loose. Chuckling Tusk strokes the flames as he blames Leave campaigners for fiasco. No, it's because everyone's realised that you're a bunch of dictating scumbags accountable to no one. You don't raise one single penny, but you steal off every single country, you thieving bastards. The Times. Desperate ISIS using British hostage as bargaining chip, say Kurds. We chewed it over. Orwell gets apology for food essay. EU set to snub May again after hell jibe from Tusk. PM facing fresh confrontation in Brussels after attack on Brexit. Now what they're trying to make out here is that May's actually on the side of leaving. She's a treasonous traitor. As I said previously, her deal keeps us tied fully in. We don't have any say in our laws, any say in our money, any say in our waters. And we get gobbled up into the dictatorship that is the EU. Executions are coming. Executions have to come. The tell-lie graph. Brexiteers have special spot in hell, says Tusk. You know what? So do you. Only you're going there. As May flies to Brussels, European Council chief sours relations with spiteful outbursts, trying to make out that, you know, they're not really all on the same side, and sitting down to dinner and caviar and Bollinger and going, you're stupid English people, British people, they think they're actually leaving. How could they ever think such a thing? We're a dictatorship, they're never. And Meghan replies, I know, but I've got them bent round my little finger. They think I'm actually voting to leave. As they squaffle down the caviar and Bollinger. Science would abuzz over bees' math skills. British Horse Society in watchdog sites. City goat top. Yeah. Third Skripal spy may still be in country. Piss off. Whenever they get desperate, they blame the Russians for something. Social media fuels addiction. And Meghan strikes back. Where's the belly bump bag? She forgot to put it on, strap it on, did she? Parasitical piece of bitch. Daily fail. As parent told to curb children's phone use, the 5-year-old's iPad diaries that shock every mother. Son takes bus, tube and 2 trains in 180-mile-an-hour race to mum, 77, in agony with broken hip, who lives 10 minutes away, ambulance station, but local crew arrives an hour after him. A journey to shame at 999 services. This is by design. Don't ever think this is by accident. They want to destroy the NHS and force you to into a US style insurance. If you ain't got insurance, well, just bleed to death. Mirror. Meghan to Dad, stop the gossip. Mirror shock report, Britain's shame. Forced onto the streets, the mum whose unborn baby died of the cold, the hard-working builder who broke his back and lost his job, the wife evicted on her birthday, dispatches from 24 hours on the homeless front line, which will horrify the nation. Well, if it doesn't, maybe we've lost all empathy now. Maybe we become as satanic as those bastards in Parliament and councils. Express. How can a row over money deny them a longer life? Join the fight to end this injustice. Innocent victims of shameful standoff in wonder drug price battle. Aye. The rest of the day off. MPs leave Commons at 3:27 PM after running out of things to debate. Downing Street downbeat as May fiasco flies to Brussels. I doubt Lucifer would welcome them EU chiefs' diabolical attack on Brexiteers. No, he wouldn't, because we're good guys. You, on the other hand, he'll welcome you. Ban screens before bedtime, parents told. Police escort Tory MP from Westminster bar for alleged sexual touching. Smear test revolution set to save thousands of women. No, it causes the problem. Don't have it done. Number of women diagnosed with cervical cancer should fall by a fifth under new NHS screening regime. More accurate tests will spot warning signs sooner and let low risk women be screened less often. Medics upbeat. This will save even more lives. The biggest beast. End of an era for radio. The scum. Laughing in the face of Brexit. Duchess emotional letter. Meg, don't victimise me dad. Her plea over public attacks. Families must bar mobiles at table. No, have you seen even the adults? You go into a pub now and you got a couple sat up watching it to each other and they're both on the phones, not even talking to each other. They'll be too busy looking at the screens to realise the dictatorship is unfolding around them. George Orwell, 1984. Waste of paper star. You only sing when you're twinning. Oh, it's about the goalie that ran off to get his daughters after the match. Danny Dyer, my suicide agony. I was in drugs and booze hell. EastEnders job saved my life. And I'm back in A-team. Financial Times. Legal Moneyball. Can big data help lawyers predict court outcomes? Recycle your chintz. We should follow Trump's plan to unite West against Iran's recklessness. Yeah, don't believe that. Failure to seal most Brexit trade deals infuriates business leaders. No guarantees, says DIT. Tax with main partners in doubt. Fears for small companies. There is a special place in hell for those promoted Brexit without even a sketch of plan. He's calling all you 17.4 million that voted to leave. He's saying that there's a special place in hell for you because you've ripped away this country from the grips of a dictatorship. You should be proud. Intense's lead shareholder throws spanner in the works for rescue plan. Trump's challenged the Beyond Speech 2020 race.